The story begins with Cayna, our main character, waking up in a room of a bar being amazed by the fact that she could move her body, especially her legs. After the girl that woke her up left, she saw her reflection in a mirror and realized she was in the world of Leadale. She went downstairs and a nice lady gave her breakfast. This nice lady was called Morel. She was the cook of this bar. She then tells Cayna about how things have changed around the 7 nations of Leadale were constantly fighting each other. The conflict got to the point where God chose special leaders that decided to merge the nations so there would only be 3 kingdoms. This brings us to the present, where Cayna is in the same world as her last game, but 200 years on in the future. Cayna then pays Morel to stay for a while in this bar. After that, she goes to her room and convokes a screen next to her. Then she starts looking at her stats. We can see that Cayna is an elf wizard level 1100 with very high stats. She then calls Key, a virtual assistant that tells her some bad news. She then says that in real life, Cayna was hospitalized after a terrible accident with her parents. After a power outage, her body was disconnected from the machines that kept her alive, leading to her body's death. But somehow her mind entered Leadale's system, which made her mind to end up in the game. Cayna looks through the window and the night falls. She closes the window in fear of other players being around. She plans on visiting her tower. Then she uses magic to light her lamp up, but Lit, Morel's daughter, was looking at her. After a short talk, Lit tells Cayna that dinner's ready. Cayna goes once again downstairs, but this time the bar was full. Some villagers started talking to her, but Lewin interrupts them. Lewin is Morel's oldest daughter. Morel then approaches them and tells Lewin to help her before the food goes cold. Later, Cayna starts talking to Lewin, who asks Cayna why she decided to stay in a place so far away such as the bar. She answers that she was looking for something. Morel, Lit, and Lewin asked what it was. Then Cayna says it was her home tower, but Morel and Lewin appear frightened because that place has a story about the scary witch of the silver ring. Cayna gives some random excuses and runs to her room and hides under her sheets because this story talks about Cayna's dark past. She thinks that this proves that there are other players in Leadale. She then decides that she will go to the town the next day. At night, some perverts enter her room with bad intentions, but Key activates a defense system in which a lion appears. This lion ran behind the perverts and kept Cayna safe. Key deleted the alarm due to it being resolved. In the morning, Cayna says goodbye to Morel and Lit, lying about where she's going. She tells them that she will go to gather some herbs, but in reality, she will go to her home tower. Lit offers a bottle for her adventure. Then we see Cayna walking through the forest and taking out her silver ring, which she uses to travel instantly to her tower. She goes to the top of the tower where an old gear is mad at her for leaving him for 200 years. This tower reminds her that she has kids: Scargo, Kartats, and Madme. Cayna starts looking for her objects through a magic door she previously made and asks the gear if something weird had happened lately. It answers that Scargo visited the tower to announce the merger of the kingdoms. Our main character then rewards the gear by giving it magic points and leaves the tower. Only then does she realize that she hadn't left a route to travel immediately to the bar. Cayna ran through the forest and found an adventurer being attacked by a bear. She kicked the bear and saved the adventurer. After she arrived to the bar, it got dark. We see our main character talking to Lit. Everyone is eating the cooked meat that belonged to the bear. At this scene, we meet Lauder, the adventurer that Cayna saved. The guy offered her wine and she accepted. Little did she know she would have to be carried by Lit and Morel because she got too drunk. A new day begins. Lit opens the door of Cayna's room. Cayna wakes up with a terrible hangover. She said to herself that she would never drink again when someone yelling stole their attention. Our main character decides to go out. Lit follows her. When they arrive, they realize that a villager called Kennison is hurt and knights of the village are trying to wake him up. The elf asks Morel what happened, but Lauder answers saying that some ogres attacked Kennison. She then invokes the game's screen to see Kennison's status. Cayna notices that he was poisoned, so she gets close to him and makes a double spell. Everyone is impressed by Cayna's abilities. Who could heal every wound Kennison had. He woke up and everyone thanked the main character. Here we meet a lion, a kobold that looked like a human dog. He asks Cayna if he can help her with anything as a gesture of gratitude. The elf invites him to have some drinks. Here Cayna explains to a lion that she was locked for 200 years and that she needs to see Scargo. Everyone in the bar gets surprised that she knows him. Lion explains that Scargo is a wise man who has a lot of influence during the big trouble caused these 200 years. Cayna then explains that he is his son. The elf ends up convincing a lion to take her to the main city, but Lin interrupts them because she wants Cayna to go with her. Cayna calms little Lit, gifting her a star, then proceeds to confess that she is the evil witch of the tower. Lit tells her that if Cayna does not return, she will tell everyone her secret. This way they promise to see each other from time to time. Later, Arbiter is presented to us, the leader of the Fire Spears mercenaries and Alina's friend. Arbiter takes our main character to the main city on a horse. When they have arrived at their destination, Cayna goes to another inn to have a place to sleep. After that, she goes to the Guild of Adventurers, but then listens to some people arguing. She went to check and she saw her stepson Kartats. We go to a dock where Cayna explains to her stepson that she abandoned the tower to become an adventurer. She also says that she tried seeing Scargo, but they didn't let her. Kartats answers that it is normal, so Cayna asks about May. Kartats says that May is now the principal of the academy. Finally, his son comments that he'll try talking to May and Scargo. Later, the main character visits the guild to complete a mission where she must deliver a potion. When the elf goes out of the guild, she finds a knight called Agaido and a girl called Lanti. Agaido asks Cayna if she could help them with a mission. She accepts. Lanti explains Cayna that they should find a red-haired boy, which they end up finding trying to save a cat. The kid recognizes them and tries to run away, but Cayna chases him through all the main city until she achieves her goal. Agaido pays her for finding the kid. At night, Cartats meets their siblings in a restaurant and they start discussing how would they receive Cayna after so long. At this point of the story, we realize that the potion that Cayna delivered ended up in May's hands. Scargo gets mad because nobody told him. It's a new day and Cayna complains over a hangover while walking through the city. She gets surprised because a lot of people talk about her mission of finding the kid. Cayna talks with Arbiter and Alina about the Silver Tower, asking if there were other similar towers. Alina adds that there is a castle in the middle of the lake in Hellspr's kingdom. Though nobody can enter to it, in this place a big war happened. We are at the Adventurers Guild, where we see our main character talk to the receptionist, who informs that the Real Academy is inviting her to a reunion. Cayna takes the letter and thinks it might be May. Later, we see Cayna being led by Lanti in the Real Academy. She asked our dear Cayna why she was invited. The elf answers that she didn't know. Lanti stands up in front of the principal's office. Finally, Cayna found May. Her daughter hugs Cayna, but the elf pinches May because she wants her to behave in front of Lanti. May tells Lanti that they hadn't seen each other for 200 years. Lanti leaves the room and Cayna asks May why she would invite her to the academy. After that, May takes our elf to a guy's room. Here, Lopus Harvey is presented to us. He is an alchemy teacher, but he is also May's husband. Cayna and Lopus talk about May's behavior. Then he shows Cayna the potions she previously gave to the Adventurers Guild. He says that this potion belonged to the Artifacts class and nobody knows how to create it anymore, so Lopus asks that they should keep the information about the potion a secret. She accepts, but Lopus asks for another favor. Later, we see Lopus presenting Cayna in front of a lot of students. He says that she will teach them how to do a great potion. Cayna then doubts about doing the favor. She does it anyways, explaining how to do it. The students are astonished. May applauds her work while she goes away. Lopus asks about the bottle. Cayna doesn't know how to respond. Next day, we see our main character looking at her mission board. One caught her eye. The mission is getting rid of a ghost in the Colosseum. She goes to this place while the red-haired kid, who escaped from Lanti, follows her in secret. Key comments that the Colosseum was built out of nowhere. Nobody knows who made it. Cayna gets suspicious. In the middle of the combat arena, she invokes a weird sword with a salamander inside. Then she invokes Cerberus, a three-headed dog who will patrol the zone. Cayna will camp in the arena. Cerberus gives to Cayna the red-haired kid, grabbing him by his shirt with his mouth. She asks Cerberus to leave the kid on the floor, and then she offers food to the kid. Cayna asks the kid the reason why he was following her. He answers that he wanted to know who she truly was, because it appeared weird to him that she could walk on water and catch him so easily, that she was Cartats and May's mother, and why she had Lanti's admiration. At night, Cerberus stayed to take care of the kid, while Cayna inspected once again the Colosseum. Suddenly, she realizes that a ghost appeared near her. It didn't seem harmful due to Cerberus not reacting to it. She takes out her ring and goes to another hidden dimension in the Colosseum. Cayna finds a dead plant and she makes it come back to life, gifting it magic points. The dimension took the appearance of a sky, and a guardian welcomed her. Soon we discover that the Colosseum was actually a tower managed by the 9th Master Kyotaro. Cayna recognizes that name and tells the guardian that she was the 3rd Master. The guardian says that it is possible that Kyotaro never goes back to the tower because everyone's dream would finish soon. He says it is such a shame that there are only 12 Masters. Cayna answers that there were 13 Masters, realizing that she was the 13th. What frightened her was the phrase, "everyone's dream will end soon." She then thinks that it means the Leadale's servers close and what she is living is the future after the players left Leadale. The Guardian offers Kyotaro's ring to Cayna and recognizes her as master of the tower. She asks the Guardian to stop bothering the people that use the Colosseum. The Guardian agrees. Later, in the middle of the rain, some knights find the kid next to Cerberus. The dog disappears and leaves the kid with him. In Cayna's room, she is totally down since the servers of Leadale closed and she is totally alone in this world. We are showed a scene where Agaido and Scargo are talking about Cayna not leaving her room in 2 days. Scargo goes to visit the main character immediately. She hears some weird noises and gets up of her bed. Scargo shut down her door and she got scared. He tries to cheer her up, but Cayna ends up getting mad, hitting him and going to sleep after putting a magical barrier. May arrives and after hearing what Scargo did, making a scandal around the city, she takes him away to leave Cayna alone. That day, Scargo, May, and Cartats get reunited to talk about how to cheer up their mother. Nonetheless, Scargo doesn't give that much interest to the conversation because he thinks that the reason Cayna hit him was that he was underdressed. This made May really mad and she beat him. Cartats proceeds to go to visit Cayna. While he thought of a plan to cheer her up, Cayna was eating at a meat stand and she offered Cartats her food. He accepts without understanding her mood, changing so fast. Now they are at a dock, talking about her mood. She says that there was nothing to worry about and changes the topic to talk about Scargo's behavior. Keina thinks that it is a good idea to make Scargo change his attitude, but Kartats tells her not to do it. She then understands that she shouldn't judge Scargo because she created him to serve his country and he is doing it. She thanks Kartats in front of everyone and apologizes. Kartats says that she is being weird. Keina answers that it is completely normal because she's trapped forever in Leadale. After some hours, Keina and Kartats go back to Scargo's office, but they realize that the door is sealed because Scargo and May are still fighting. Our dear elf opens the door, throws a yellow bottle, counts to 3, and the office explodes. May and Scargo are sitting in front of Keina talking about why she locked her in. She apologizes, and that goes to May and Scargo as a surprise. After this, Keina explains her feelings to her children. They apologize, but Keina said that she would talk seriously with May and Scargo. This scares the 3 of them, and Kartats runs away. Scargo and May ask why she was mad. She answered that they shouldn't use magic to fight and ironically beats them up to show them they shouldn't use it on a family fight. Some days after, Keina is in her room talking to Elaine. He wants to recruit her as bodyguard in a trip he will go to trade with Helsfer. He then shows her the route on the map. She accepts, and the next day she says goodbye to Scargo, Kartats, and May. This last one gives her a letter for her to give to a person called Carrick. During a trip, Elenin, the Fire Spears mercenaries, and Cayna stand at the shore of a lake. The elf asks how would they cross the lake. They answer that the bridge was shot down. Cayna casts a spell to walk on the water with everyone to the other side of the lake, but a larva eats part of their luggage and a horse. They make it to the other side without anyone dying. To compensate the lack of the horse, Cayna invokes Cerberus and a centaur to help take what's left of their luggage. The Fire Spears knights refuse, though. They think the centaur and Cerberus would scare the horses that were left. So she invokes the enormous pig to help them. After they have arrived at the checkpoint, but they are attacked by a dark wizard. Cayna orders Cerberus and the centaur to fight the hidden bandits. That's a battle was formed in front of the checkpoint. The dark wizard attacks Cayna, but it doesn't affect her. She attacks the wizard back with an ice bow and arrow, finishing him instantly. After this victory, it camped on the other side of the checkpoint. Cayna thinks that she would have to get used to her new life. After several days, the group arrives to Helsfer, the city of the windmill. Everyone leaves their luggage, and Elena takes Cayna with Carrick. They stop in Sakaya, a building of worldwide trading. They enter Carrick's office and they sit to wait for him. They discover then that Carrick is Cayna's grandson, May's son. Cayna gets mad because May did not say anything about him. After some hours, the elf meets Helsfer's knights, thanks to Elena, want to meet her to interrogate her about the bandits that attacked them at the checkpoint. Our main character gets surprised because the knight's captain was Carrick's sister. She presents herself as Karina, Cayna's granddaughter. Karina apologizes for Carrick because he was very nervous due to the things May said about her grandmother, Cayna. Our elf asks what kind of things. Karina said that her mother told her that if Cayna got mad, she began to tear apart everyone, not caring if they were family. She got so mad that she attacked everyone there with a giant snowball. Some days after, we see that Karina sent a message to Scargo and May telling them that they make Cayna mad and that they almost died. Back to our dear elf, we see her in the Helsfer Adventurers Guild, talking to 2 adventurers about a castle near the lake known as the Castle of the Crescent Moon. It has that name because it starts glowing during the Crescent Moon days. Our protagonist goes to the place after being given the location. One of the adventurers thinks he has seen her before, but he can't recall where. After Cayna reunites with Carrick to gain concrete information about the castle, she apologizes with him and gets what she wanted. Now we are informed that the castle was indeed another Tower of Guardian and is on bandits' hands. At night, Cayna reunites with Elaine and the Fire Spears, confessing that she will be some days away to take some provisions to a fort next to the lake. Next day, we see her in the fort talking to her granddaughter Karina, but then they are attacked by 9 rock golems. All the knights get reunited, even though no one has a strong enough weapon to attack them. Cayna goes with them and is able to end with everyone's enemy with her magic. While she camps at the forest after Karina leaving, she thinks that it is very likely that there are other players in Leadale because rock golems had a higher level than usual and that it might be a veteran. Some days pass and our protagonist stumbles upon the tower. On the shores, there were lots of bandits reunited with chests and boxes. She invokes a dragon that finishes the whole group instantly. But there she found a player. His name was Love Rogue, level 432 demon. Cayna tells him that he shouldn't attack the NPC, but Love Rogue says that there are no longer game masters, so like him could do whatever he wanted. This made Cayna mad, so she begins a fight. She invokes a cane and changes her spells to fight one-on-one without magic. Love Rogue attacks Cayna, but she blocks his attack easily. This scares Love Rogue because his sword could not outwin her. She explains that his enemy's weapon could destroy other weapons, but it couldn't destroy rare objects or EX. Cayna takes away his weapons. He says that it was impossible that she had a higher level than him. She ends up freezing him, explaining that there will be permanent death. When she was about to kill him, she's interrupted by an arrow that she could barely dodge. It was Karina's. She was with her troops. They both discuss. Karina wants to start a trial, Cayna wants to kill him. They were about to fight when Cayna decided to put away her weapon, and she reduces all the stats to the demon. Then explains Karina that she had to make sure that he was no longer a threat. The knights take the demon away. When Cayna is left alone, she uses her silver ring to access the Tower of the Guardian, finding a skull with a crown on a throne. After giving the throne magic points, the tower reactivates and the skull unites with his body, revealing a skeleton king. Cayna introduces herself to the Guardian and asks who is the tower's owner. The king says that the player's name is Opus, the Zhuge Liang of Leadale. The Guardian gives a book and a ring to the elf. He says that his master gave that to him because he knew she could come. Cayna accepts it and opens the book. She gets surprised because it had a fairy inside. Our dear elf gets out of the tower and returns to the city to talk to Karina and Carrick. They thank her for her help. Cayna asks about the demon. They tell her that they locked him in a dungeon. After several days, Cayna travels on a cart with Kartats. There he reveals that the Knights of Helsfer and Felskylo were united to create a special unit. Then they change the subject to Carrick and Karina. Later in Felskylo, Cayna looks at the board of ads from the Adventurers Guild. She chooses the mission of hunting several bears. Out of the guild, she stumbles upon Lonti and a weird, hooded woman. The three of them go to the dock to talk in private. Lonti introduces Cayna to the mysterious girl. Her name is Mai. Lonti asks the main character if she could go with him to do what he had to do. She accepts. After Mai explains the elf that she needs a bodyguard and Lonti only knew about one person that could defend her, Cayna decides to take them on her mission. They went to the forest looking for bears, but they couldn't find any. They camp in the woods and the three of them take a bath in the thermal baths that Cayna made with her magic. During the talk, the conversation turns about relationships, while Mai evidences that she likes Scargo and wants to earn Cayna's trust. Lonti says that Mai is a princess, but Cayna doesn't really care because she doesn't want to interfere in their children's relationships. Late at night, the three of them lay down to watch the stars on a white dragon the elf invoked. Next day, we see Cayna confronting a bear which she beats with a kick. She saves the bear in her inventory. Meanwhile, in the Adventurers Guild, a lot of them would complain about not having enough interesting missions until some knights arrive, among them a white humanoid dragon that appeared to be looking for someone. This dragon's name was Shining Saber. He talks to a brown-haired knight who is interested in looking for Cayna. This makes us understand that both are players. The brown-haired one is Coral, subordinate in another Shining Saber's account. Here the closing of Leadale's system, where Coral ended up trapped too, as Shining Saber too. Despite their attempts, they couldn't connect with other players. They hug each other excited. Professor Lopez is looking at a container with a purple liquid, trying to recreate Cayna's potion, but he is unsuccessful. He throws the container on a hole he dug. This absorbs the thrash near the hole and ends up turning into a mysterious floating cube. In the interior of the cube, you could see how a living being was being formed. There's a humanoid raven that breaks the cube and doesn't doubt about destroying the city. Cayna is walking through a field of flowers with Lonti and Mai, enjoying the natural beauty of the world, until the fairy pulls her hair, wanting to tell her something. She assumes it is something about the main city, rapidly invokes a white wolf, on which the three of them travel back as fast as they could. Shining and Coral help the citizens to evacuate the zone, and they think about how to beat the event's boss. Scargo and Kartats look in terror at that raven, and they don't doubt about reuniting with Mayan and Lopez, who apologizes for creating that monster. Shining and Coral are on the top of a building looking with bravery at the creature, so they attack the boss. They both use their abilities, and they hit the raven on the head, and they end up knocking it down against the dock's water. But at the same time, they get hurt falling on an abandoned storage. Coral tells Shining that he doesn't think that he could continue because he was left on less than 20%. So Shining asks him to leave, but Coral says that he would not leave. Both go to the ceiling to sacrifice themselves and try to end with the event's boss, but they are interrupted by a rock that came out of nowhere and impacted the monster. But the creature flew again, and a violent lightning fell on his head, killing the boss. Shining and Coral were surprised because the boss was beaten by 2 spells of higher level. They immediately recognized that there was another player. It was Cayna that helped from a distance. The dock was destroyed. Several citizens were working to restore it. In the middle of the sunset, Kartats, Scargo, and May were reunited next to Cayna, and the others next to the hole that created the boss while they were being watched by Shining and Coral. Our elf realizes that an unknown object is in the trash. She sees it through a screen only players can see through. The Dragon Knight and his friends suspect that Cayna is a player due to her being able to see through the screen. Here we are told that Shining is a knight that is at the service of Mai. He asks the princess to go back to the king. Cayna tells Mai to go, and they end up saying goodbye. Scargo gives the main character a weird stone that the boss dropped. She analyzes it, and the mineral is an orichalco. She asks why he gave that to her, and Scargo only says that Shining and Coral didn't want it. Cayna proposes to Coral to make a weapon with the mineral. He said that Shining and him were planning on telling her something, but it is better if the three of them are reunited. So he says that they should reunite in the morning. Cayna accepts and says that they should meet at noon at the Colosseum. Next day, Keina finds two knights. Shining introduces himself and says that he is level 427, while Coral is level 392. The two of them say which guild they were from. She says that she was from the Cream Cheese Guild. They were astonished because only the game masters belonged there, the ones that controlled all the Leadale's games. Then Shining recognizes her for her nickname of Silver Ring Witch. Keina had to be sincere and tell the truth. She gives Coral a greatsword made of the mineral. She gave him a Valhalla, the best sword in the game. Shining gets kind of jealous and asks if she has another one. She says that he already has a wood weapon. Shining says that it was the default weapon given to knights, but she doesn't have the materials to make another Valhalla. Here the knight wants to exchange information, saying that he has 3 years on the game. Keina says that she has only 2 months. She asks why Leadale closed their servers. Coral and Shining don't seem to know anything about the servers closing. She confesses her secret of being dead in the real world and ended up in the game. They were surprised because there was a rumor of someone dying while playing. Shining says that the rumor began 6 months ago in the real world, and it extended to the corporation that managed the game and closed the servers. But he says he doesn't know if that's the real reason of the closure. She shows them the fairy. She believes that the only one that can give her more details is the Opus. Coral says that once because of Opus's fault he died one time in the game. Shining hugs him because he went through that too. Keina interrupts them to make everyone add each other on the game. Keina asks for a big favor about the Towers of the Guardian. Any information about it will be useful. Coral tells her of a possible location of a tower. Keina rewards him with a nurturing ability, and the two knights leave. Keina is surprised by someone that is behind her, and does not doubt to hit that someone, but it was Scargo. He asks why she reunited with them, but she scolded him and hits him for spying on her. Some days after, Keina returns to her tower and talks with the Guardian to ask him what happened in these 200 years. He answers that he only knows what other Guardians told him, that the Masters said goodbye to their Guardians. Keina walks away and goes to visit Lit, who received her with pure joy. Lit remembered Keina about the promise and says that she took so long to go back that she almost told everyone her secret. Keina laughs and looks at Morel that passed near them. She says hi to the elf. Next day, our protagonist gets out of the bar with a hangover, stumbling upon some villagers that were discussing a weird noise in the well that was heard all night long. It seemed that someone was singing there. Keina thinks that it might be an anomaly, so she goes to see what happened with a special suit to swim and breathe underwater. After going through several sea caves, she finds on the shore a mermaid. After calming her down and convincing her to talk, the mermaid tells Keina that she was swallowed by a sea squirrel and she ended up on the depths of the well. Keina decides to help her, and she takes the mermaid to the surface where the villagers will be waiting for her. The elf tells them about the mermaid and she asks if she could stay, and they accepted. The villagers allow the mermaid to stay at the public restroom where there are ponds that are deep enough for her to be comfortable. Keina leaves the village and goes to town. Meanwhile, Shining Saber is welcomed by the villagers as a hero. He rode a horse to the castle at the capital, but a subordinate tells him about Keina's presence. Shining stops and looks to the hills, looking at her escorting some merchants. Rapidly, the knight approaches her. Shining takes Keina on the horse and decides to accompany her to the Guardian's tower. After a week of traveling, they arrive at a fishing village, where Keina and Shining took different paths. Keina was going to the village when she got suspicious about it being so quiet. She saw a lot of fog. It had turned into a ghost village. Before entering, she took out her sword and invoked the centaur to go with him, but she doesn't realize that the fog is a poison that's hurting Hale, the centaur. They are attacked by a zombie who within seconds left our protagonist alone. She realizes that the zombie is from a very high level, so she thinks that the village is under the domain of one player. She went sneaking up around the village trying to evade lots of zombies. He tells her that it is very likely that everyone were zombies. She feels a threat behind her, so she prepares herself and looked at a player's shadow through the fog. There was a player called Quolka. Keina attacked her, but Quolka begged Keina not to attack her. The elf interrogates her. She asked if she was the cause of everyone being zombies. She says no. She also says that her and her partner lived there between the fog. They were happy Keina arrived. She looked at her carefully and realized that she was one of the adventurers that was with Shining on the guild. Quol guides the elf to a storage where she, her partner, and a survivor were. Keina entered and saw a knight that looked a little like Shining. His name was X, and he was a level 630. X seemed to know Keina well. When he revealed his account's full name, she immediately recognized him. He was a Cream Cheese Guild member. Being X a game master as Keina, the knight explains to Keina that Thai is not the only desolated village. He says that the fog apparently doesn't kill the players. She asks X where the survivor was. He pointed to a barrel where Luca, a girl, was. X said that they couldn't take her out of the barrel because the air might turn her into a zombie. Keina thinks that the poisonous effect of the fog might be because of an event's boss, so she went to look for him before she left a butler to take care of the girl. X, Quol, and Keina explore the village and find a ghost ship on the shore. Apparently, it had a lot of pirate skeletons waiting for them. X will go for the boss while Keina and Quol distract the troops. On the ship, X finishes the boss within seconds, and they finish their mission. Keina says that the kingdom will oversee restoring the village and populating it. Next day, with the help of a sea dragon that she invoked, she goes to the sea depths and finds the Guardian's tower. She enters the tower and activates it. After that, she goes back to her group and ends up adopting Luca. Several days after, Cayna decides to introduce Luca to her new siblings, so they return to the main city. Cayna, being reunited with Mai, introduces Luca to her. She was really surprised, but she accepted her and loved her new sister. Cayna then introduces Luca to Scargo, but he ends up scaring Luca, so Cayna gets mad and beats him up and then leaves. Then she stumbles upon Kartats. He accepts her as her sister. During the night, Cayna goes to visit Elena's store to buy some things to build the house she will live in with Luca, so she gets a cart to take the things from one place to another. Later, she introduces Luca to her two butlers, Roxine and Roxelius, to go back to the village. When they are at the village, Cayna explains her situation to Morel and Lit. Both of them accept them to stay forever at the village. During this time, Lit makes friends with Luca and the mermaid, who now works washing the villagers' clothes. Next day, Cayna wakes up with a hangover again, and Lit, who was waiting near her, tells her that Morel has good news for her. She goes downstairs and all the villagers take her to a lot of empty land to build her home. After deciding where she would build her house, the villagers held another welcoming party. Cayna ends up having a hangover again. The elf goes to the place she will build her home on and opens the building system of the game to make the best Leadale's house. Cayna begins to go around the house with Luca and shows her the room of her dreams. They are interrupted by some villagers that will help Cayna decorate her house with flowers. At night after the party, Cayna and Luca go with the mermaid to take a bath. There she explains to Cayna that getting lost was the best thing that could have happened to her. In her village, she was suffering from a lot of personal problems, which made her have a lot of negative thoughts about herself. But since she met her, she feels way better. At home, Lit and Luca were drawing in their notebooks, guided by Cayna, who they treated as a teacher. Luca and Lit go to play at the yard. They would play with the flowers while Cayna watched them while drinking tea. She felt happy about experiencing something that didn't make her think about the real world. She thinks that Leadale is not that bad since she had always been at the hospital, and her only escape was the game. It made her feel very grateful to the people she met and helped her with the emotional baggage of never going back. She didn't expect to have a new daughter or recognition when she got back. She thought she'd be a total stranger to people at Leadale, but she thinks that she has reached her happiness. When she was telling this to Roxine, she was interrupted by Luca, who gave her a flower crown. Cayna gets surprised and can't help but crying when Luca calls her mother and lets her put her the crown and asks how she looks. Luca answers that she looks pretty, and that makes both of them really happy. Cayna doesn't doubt in hugging Luca and Lich. She takes them to fly as she promised, showing them the world of Leadale from the sky. The girls were very surprised because they didn't expect Leadale to be so big and pretty. They ask Cayna if they can visit all Leadale one day. She says yes. The elf concludes that as Luca, she must get used to her new lifestyle, ending this anime.